What's cracking, y'all? You are now watching Boo TV. Appreciate you for stopping in. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, stay notified, and let's get into the topic for today. What's cracking? Back with some more content from the fabulous YouTube channel called Secret Base, where they do a whole lot of different stuff, but one of their concepts is that they definitely outline beef in sports history. So big shout out to the longtime subscriber, supporter, the boy, Crayontis. I appreciate you. Submitted 3 videos from this channel that highlight the Kobe and Shaq beef, the Kobe and Shaq feud, all right? Each one is roughly about 25 to 30 minutes each. So this video is going to run, you might as well say, an hour and a half to an hour and 40 minutes. And I'll watch, obviously I'm going to watch all 3 videos. They're separate and then combine them so you can get all of it right here in one video. The first one is called Big Brother, Little Brother. The second one is called Big Dog, Little Dog. And the third one is called I May Have Messed Something Up. I am a lifelong Laker fan since the 90s. Kobe Bryant is my favorite player of all time. I've watched countless of Laker games, recorded countless of Laker games, studied countless of Laker games. Kobe Bryant context, Kobe Bryant media, and I remember so much. I have a bad memory, but when it comes to Kobe and the Lakers, my memory is like, So I feel like most of the stuff that's going to be said, I'll probably remember most of it, know about a lot of it. But I would also have to say that I know he's going to bring up a lot of stuff that I might have forgotten or I might not have known at all. Like certain details, especially back then, the internet wasn't as big. Social media wasn't a thing. So there could have been a lot of details that never came my way unless you were in Los Angeles at the time. Even though Kobe and Shaq were like prime time, anything that came out of their mouth, especially when they were feuding, would make it on to SportsCenter and onto the newspaper, etc., etc. So I'm pretty sure there's also going to be some details and some things and some quotes from other people maybe in that circle that I didn't know about. Maybe some extra off-the-court things I didn't know about that were said. So I would also expect that because Secret Base does some amazing research and some amazing digging up of facts and scenarios and interactions and quotes and interviews. Like they find some really rare gems right here on Secret Base. So I would expect that as well. I'm happy to get into this, man. So sit back, relax, and let's take a trip down memory lane, shall we? Rest in peace, Black Mamba. Let's get it popping.
You and I work at a basket company. We are basket makers. It's our job. We can agree that you make a basket by shooting this ball through this hoop. But who should do that? How should we prepare? What's our design? Which tools should we use? How do we make a basket? I'm not saying there's a right answer to these questions. I'm just saying if we can't agree on an answer, we might have a pretty bad time at work. Beef should not define the shared legacy of Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant. Shaq and Kobe's relationship includes 3 consecutive NBA championships, with plenty of love and celebration shared throughout. They are one of the most successful tandems in sports history. That is their legacy. Everything else is secondary. This is important to Shaq, and it's easy to understand why. Kobe Bryant died in 2020 at the age of 41. One of 9 people killed suddenly when their helicopter crashed in Calabasas, California.
Rest in peace.
Shaq shared his mourning in public, profound remembrances of the brother he lost, including a TNT special immediately following the tragedy. On that night, and in subsequent reflections on his relationship with Kobe, Shaq expressed regret but diminished the notion of beef.
People like to talk about the relationship. I'm here to set it straight. It was a big brother relationship, little brother, but the respect was there. After I won my first championship, who's the first guy to jump in arms? When the guy twisted his ankles in the finals and couldn't walk, who was the guy that carried him down the hall? From now on, I don't want to hear about the beef that y'all thought we had.
To the extent that Shaq and Kobe feuded, O'Neal has characterized it as a rivalry between competitors who respected one another and pushed each other to win. He said the beef was contrived, media bait, and intentional marketing stunt. And whatever it was, it ended. After their 8 years as teammates, once both men had retired from pro basketball, Shaq and Kobe resolved their differences. They reconnected privately for sure, but also for an audience on television, on podcasts, and on social media. During those years of public reconciliation,
they even had a commercial together. It's actually a very funny commercial with Shaq and a teleprompter.
Shaq used a key phrase that helps us square his own dismissals with documented history: work beef. Work beef means a few things. For one, it denotes a period of time.
It was usually work beef up until the Kobe Bryant snitched on Shaq when he got caught up in the sexual assault allegations. That's when it really is like, that ain't work beef no more. You snitched me out, boy.
That resolution happened after they stopped working together. Bygones were bygones. Look at how Shaq and Kobe in retirement could laugh about a fight they had early in their partnership. They remember the trash talk in detail.
We were playing a pickup game. We was doing a lockout season. We're on opposite teams.
Right.
Trash talking.
Yes.
And you kept saying, yeah, take that little. I'm like, I'm looking around.
Who we call a little bitch?
Oh, me.
Yes.
They remember things getting physical, if not evenly matched.
I said, oh, hold on. Ain't gonna be too many more of those little,
Yeah, I remember that.
And what you said? Well, what you gonna do about it? What you gonna do about it? And then that's, the next thing I knew, I saw a big hand coming this way. And I remember going this way. And I remember throwing some lollipop.
And they remember this as the moment Shaq realized how intense and how brash the young Kobe really was.
We had our first fight, and you looked and said, okay, this is crazy.
I did say that.
Yeah, I did. You did.
In the hindsight of two champions and Hall of Famers, the fight represents an early sign of the success to come.
I'm looking at this and I'm saying, man, he wants this thing. It consumes him. And then from that moment on, I knew we spoke the same language. It doesn't matter if we had disagreements this and the other, our drive to win, like we have to win. There's no other option.
But at the time, that success wasn't a given. Teammates fight each other for a reason. Shaq's preferred phrase applies. Not all sports beef is work beef. Often, animus between athletes takes root in personal, off-the-field stuff. Money, fame, politics, relationships. That's not where Shaq vs. Kobe came from. It eventually spilled into those realms. It got personal. But this beef was, in its foundation, a feud about work, about the right way to practice and play basketball. So I ask again, how do we make a basket? How do we make a basket?
This is so well done. I like it.
In the summer of 1996, Los Angeles Lakers general manager Jerry West developed a literally debilitating obsession with acquiring Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant. O'Neal was obvious. Off the court, Shaq had a huge, marketable personality. On the court, the 24-year-old had become perhaps the prototypical NBA center of his era. 7'1" and 300-ish pounds, with churning footwork, quick reflexes, and thunderous finishes, among the NBA's very highest scorers. Shaq's incumbent team, the Orlando Magic, mishandled his free agency negotiations, slow-rolling contract offers to a superstar who wanted to feel valued. The Lakers smelled opportunity. West just needed to clear cap space so he could turn a big offer into a home run offer and get his guy. Bryant was less obvious. The 17-year-old wing had, like Kevin Garnett the year before him, elected to skip college and head straight from high school to the league. As was the case with Garnett, many NBA executives lacked the patience to develop a teenager.
Yes.
West was one of them, until he watched Kobe in person. The Lakers brought Bryant in for a workout as a favor to his agent, Arn Tellem. The workout went well. Suddenly, West had another guy he needed to make a Laker, but LA didn't own a high enough pick in the first round of the '96 draft. What followed was a high-wire act so stressful, so exhausting, that it drove West into the hospital. At least it paid off. With a little subterfuge and a little cajoling, West was able to orchestrate the following. Bryant dropped to the 13th pick, held by the Charlotte Hornets. The Lakers acquired Bryant's rights by trading Charlotte their center, Vlade Divac. Offloading Vlade's salary helped LA boost their offer to O'Neal, who signed days later. So shout out to Vlade Divac. He could have wrecked this whole maneuver by standing firm on his threat to retire instead of reporting to Charlotte. Vlade relented, the deal went through, West got both his guys. Now what? How did this new Lakers roster fit together? Shaq being the prototypical NBA center came with the requisite limitations. The dude was as productive as anyone has ever been inside the paint, but that was basically his range. You didn't need to guard him out here. He didn't shoot jumpers, he didn't dribble or pass from the perimeter. In short, he needed a sidekick, someone to get him the ball. Shaq grew up admiring Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who won championships in LA once the Lakers paired him with Magic Johnson. Those two legends had little in common personality-wise, but they were the perfect combination of world-class scorer and world-class passer. In Orlando, Shaq had handpicked his own version of Magic Johnson. He pushed the team to make a 1993 draft day trade for Penny Hardaway. Penny loved to pass. He was happy to share the ball and the spotlight. They seemed like a young Kareem and Magic for a new era. Disparate
Okay, see, originally, right, it was supposed to be Chris Webber and Shaquille O'Neal, if I'm not mistaken. But I didn't know Shaq pushed hard for that Penny trade. That part I didn't know. But it made sense.
Personalities, yet ideal complements on the floor. The rare tandem that could get you all the way to the NBA Finals before they turned 24. Orlando squandered that perfect fit, and their loss was the Lakers' gain. But if Shaq was to follow in Kareem's LA footsteps, would he have a Magic? Could anyone play that role the way Penny did in Orlando? The Lakers already employed some legit candidates. Rising all-star wing Eddie Jones and speedy dynamo Nick Van Exel. But Shaq understood from the outset that neither would become his co-star. Everyone knew it would be Kobe, especially Kobe. Kobe Bryant was a different kind of teenager. Bryant was already a bigger celebrity in high school than most players are as pros. Skipping college only accelerated that. Kobe had a sneaker deal. He had TV appearances, plural. The kid had a SAG card. The papers covered Kobe's senior prom because his date was Brandy. Bryant came by this fame honestly, by putting the ball in the basket. He was an electrifying athlete and insatiable bucket getter, a shooter and a slasher, a state champion. Envisioning Kobe's potential, people had no qualms using the letters M and J. To be clear, that's M for Michael and J for Jordan. No one saw Kobe becoming a pass-first mega point guard like Magic Johnson, or Penny Hardaway for that matter. If you squinted into the future, you saw a pure scorer, the rare shooting guard who could finish oodles of possessions by himself. Kobe wanted the ball, and his personality as a colleague mirrored his mindset as a player. He was sure the Lakers would be his team someday. So sure so soon that the older, more established O'Neal was like, whoa, hey, slow down, Haas. Shaq spoke in his usual playful way about taking Kobe under his wing as a little brother. But Kobe wouldn't be belittled, wouldn't go along with hazing rituals like the other rookies. Kobe had fancied himself a loner since moving to the US from Italy as a child. He kept to himself in the Lakers locker room. He didn't play cards with teammates. He didn't go to the club. He was hyper-focused to the point of aloofness on his game. While Kobe worked behind the scenes, opportunities to develop on the court were scarce at the outset. He had just turned 18 after all. Kobe scavenged for minutes in his first season. buried in Coach Del Harris's rotation. When he did get to play, he shot a lot. Shot from any angle, shot in any situation. On a per-minute basis, he attempted more field goals than anyone but Shaq.
Yes.
Shaq recalls telling Kobe he was doing too much by himself.
I think on a per-minute basis, even with his limited minutes, when you look at it on a per-minute basis, he would be on pace to average about 24, 25 points per game as a teenager. But he just wasn't getting the minutes. But he was putting the ball in the hoop when he got the minutes. That part is true. And I remember there were other players that came in with him. They were all like, you were the best player in the draft, if not the second best player in the draft after Allen Iverson. But you definitely had the most upside in the draft. And they just kept saying, how is this guy not getting playing time? Why is this guy, I'm getting playing time. And Kobe's 10 times better than me. It's one of those situations, man. The situation, the team he was drafted to, they already had 3 All-Stars on the team, 2 at the guard positions. And they didn't prioritize young players back then. Especially if you had somebody that's already a couple years in, that's an all-star at your position. It's one of those situations.
Throwing off the team's rhythm, only to get shut down repeatedly by a kid 6 years younger than him. Kobe's boldness made for highlights, like this 360 in-game dunk. This is quite a risk for a teenage bench player to take when you could just have 2 points for free. And it made for a few smooth 20-point outings. It got him invited to the dunk contest. It also made for tremendous whoopsies, like his infamous parade of air balls when called into action in a conference semifinal elimination game against the Utah Jazz.
Yep.
Shaq almost seemed to like Kobe better in a humbling moment like that playoff flameout, praising the rookie for the guts he demonstrated with the season on the line. Kobe appreciated that. But O'Neal later wrote that he wanted to vomit in that moment, and that Kobe had learned the wrong lessons from all that shooting. Shaq had taken to calling Kobe Boy Wonder or Showboat, and everyone could tell these were not compliments. This was Shaq's way, to diffuse tension with jokes, but that tension affected him, and he desperately wanted to resolve it. Because the jokes and the nicknames weren't born from simple envy. You'd hear peeps about Shaq bristling at Kobe's outsized fame, but teammates believed that the basketball of it all mattered most. Shaq just wanted to win, just wanted the championship that eluded him in Orlando. Absent a brotherly relationship, Shaq cared about Kobe only to the extent that the youngster's game would make or break that objective.
Yes.
And it would. Early in the 97-98 season, Kobe's second as a...
And to be fair, if you're Kobe, and Kobe didn't take this as a slight, Kobe's like, that's how I want it. I want it the same way you do, baby. We talking the same language.
Pro, Shaq missed over a month because of injuries. He strained his abdominal muscle and then broke his wrist on a punching bag. Why was he punching a heavy bag during his rehab? A Lakers staff member was basically like, I don't know, man. I didn't tell him to do that. With the usual first option sidelined, Kobe still came off the bench, but seized the opportunity to log more minutes and take more shots. Kobe dropped his first 30 ball against the Mavericks, then put up 33 a couple days later in Chicago, keeping pace with Michael Jordan individually, although very much not in the final score. Because, the Lakers weren't nearly as good with Kobe running the show solo. When Shaq returned, he wanted Kobe to give him his basketball back.
Now, hold on.
So did his teammates and Coach Harris. The Lakers weren't...
Without Shaq, that's still not a bad record. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 losses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 14 and 7. That's still not bad for a young, prior to winning a championship led by young Kobe Bryant. That still ain't bad. 14-7 ain't bad. Ain't bad at all. Not as good, obviously, but not bad.
Weren't nearly as good with Kobe running the show solo. When Shaq returned, he wanted Kobe to give him his basketball back. So did his teammates and Coach Harris. Kobe's individual exploits got him a ton of love from fans. He was voted to become an all-star starter alongside Shaq even though he didn't start for his own team. But Kobe's teammates weren't fans. The individualism didn't please Shaq, especially when those shots stopped falling. Shaq chided teammates for taking off-balance, one-legged jumpers like a bunch of Rex Chapman wannabes. Kobe, for one, wasn't going to stop pulling. Shaq was getting impatient. The Lakers did advance a round further in the '98 playoffs, but that just meant they got crushed by the Jazz in the conference finals instead of the semifinals. Even after that big season, Coach Harris hardly used Kobe against Utah. When Kobe did play, it was ugly, including 7 of 24 shooting in the first 2 games of a miserable sweep. The Lakers weren't making enough baskets, and Shaq was tired of waiting for Kobe to figure it out. But in 1998, everyone had to wait for everything. Negotiations on a new collective bargaining agreement dragged the offseason from the...
Shaq was impatient. He didn't want to wait for this player to grow. Same thing when Tracy McGrady got upset and was ready to leave Orlando. They're like, yo, we about to draft Dwight Howard, man. Just stay put. And T-Mac's like, I don't want to sit here and wait for a young player to grow. I want to win now. Send me to Houston. In hindsight, T-Mac should have stayed his ass right there in Orlando.
Usual summer months all the way into early 1999. During that desolate, locked-out winter, Shaq and Kobe... It was early January 1999. The Southwest College Gymnasium in LA, a popular pickup spot for local pros locked out of their practice facilities. A handful of Lakers were there. Derek Fisher, Corey Blunt, Shaq, and in a rare appearance, Kobe. He usually trained alone, but perhaps had some cabin fever after so many months of work stoppage. They played pickup, 2-on-2. Shaq and Kobe were on opposite teams, and something happened, an altercation. A few weeks later, LA reporters got some details. Apparently, Shaq slapped Kobe. When asked, both parties said it was no big deal. Everyone moved on. In a book released a couple years later, Shaq called his slap a karate push, the kind of thing he'd do to someone he didn't want to hurt. But over time, other people filled in details. In the Kobe biography Showboat, released 17 years after the fight, Derek Fisher said some true feelings came out between Shaq and Kobe, extremely negative ones. He also said only 4 people were there, but Shaq and Kobe themselves use another name in their recollection.
Olden Polynice came and caught, and then they all just kind of broke us apart.
Olden Polynice was a free agent at the time, hoping to join the Lakers once the lockout ended. Here's what he told Jeff Pearlman in 2020. Kobe was playing way too physical for a pickup game. Shaq was calling way too many fouls. Kobe got sick of the calls. Shaq threatened to slap him, and then the trash talk got rather pointed, rather specific. This is my team. No, it's my team. You're not a leader. I will get you traded. And then, yeah, Shaq slapped Kobe. Corey Blunt confirms it. Polynice says Shaq would have killed Kobe, who did not stop mouthing off if he and others didn't step in. Apparently, Shaq's bodyguard, Jerome, was there too. So, again, this isn't to dispute how Shaq and Kobe interpret the fight several decades and 3 championships later. It could have been a bonding experience, a totem of shared determination and mutual respect in the long run. But in 1999, with nothing proven, 0 rings, everything at stake, whether or not Shaq and Kobe said these exact words, whether Shaq hit Kobe with a karate push or a full-force slap, however many witnesses were present, this was a big deal. It was beef. And as much as everyone tried to dismiss the story, the themes of the January '99 fight colored the rest of that year and beyond. Whose team was it? In that lockout-shortened season, Kobe finally became a regular starter and played the most minutes of any Laker. Already hearing whispers that he was a ball hog, Kobe insisted he would keep being aggressive. Teammates' exasperation with his play overwhelmed the locker room at the wrong time. Coach Harris got fired, and interim replacement Kurt Rambis had no idea how to make Kobe fit in. Bryant kept skipping team functions, kept sitting by himself, and kept stonewalling veterans who tried to advise him. Even 37-year-old Derek Harper, the rare Kobe confidant, felt like he could only get so far with the kid. So, one night in Sacramento, Shaq took it upon himself to call a players-only meeting. Everyone aired their frustrations, while Kobe supposedly just sat there in silence. Locker room accusations of selfish play breached containment. Shaq made sure of it. In front of reporters, O'Neal said Kobe was the problem they were too scared to write about, the experiment holding his team back. Kobe sort of shrugged. He and Shaq didn't have a personal problem since, despite everyone else's efforts, they hardly knew each other. It must be on the court stuff and, hey, I'm trying. But even when Kobe did play positive team-first basketball, like defending Scottie Pippen in his first career playoff series as a starter, Shaq found a way to say something snide to reporters. Around this time, Magic Johnson took it upon himself to encourage Shaq and Kobe to know each other better. Find harmony off the court, find harmony on it, just like Kareem and I once did. Kobe didn't bite. Right after the Lakers got swept by the Spurs in the second round, he disappeared. Shaq had given up on being friends off the court. And on the court, Kobe wasn't Magic anyway. That summer of '99, Shaq campaigned to get his Magic back, his ideal sidekick. He reconnected with Penny Hardaway, who wanted out of Orlando. Shaq pressed on management to make a trade for Penny and presumably get rid of Kobe, but he got shut down. Penny went elsewhere. The Lakers had a different solution. Coach Rambis wasn't going to cut it. The right man for the job was the guy who had turned the star-stuffed Chicago Bulls into a dynasty.
The Zen
The great
Master.
puppeteer of egos, the Zen Master, the prince of the triangle offense, Phil Jackson. He would make these guys. Jackson and his retinue of assistants, including Phil's mentor, triangle guru Tex Winter, recall being blown away at the level of animosity they'd walked into. Shaq in particular had no qualms about bad-mouthing Kobe in front of the new coaches. But circumstances vented some of that steam to open the 99-2000 season. Kobe broke his hand and missed the first 15 games of the year. The injury was kinda convenient. Kobe's absence gave everyone else an opportunity to get comfortable in Winter and Jackson's triangle offense.
Now hold on. I think how this video portrayed it is that after the lockout season, Phil Jackson came into play. And maybe my memory's bad. I'm about to do a fact check on myself. I thought Phil came in during the lockout season when the Lakers got swept by the Spurs. Nope, I am definitely wrong. I have definitely recalled that wrong. I'm glad he said that. Yeah, I always thought otherwise. But yeah, no. It was still Rambis. And the video was right. See, secret base. I told you. He got his shit together. Yeah, I always recalled that. I don't know why. I always thought that. Man. Thank you, secret base. Thank you, secret base.
With Shaq as the apex. The Lakers went 11-4 over that Kobe-free stretch and kept right on crushing once Kobe returned, including a 16-game win streak spanning the new millennium. But the moment Kobe held the ball or took shots Shaq didn't like, the big guy griped. Teammates, vets like Ron Harper and Brian Shaw, did their best to settle both parties. The head coach focused on building a bridge to Kobe from Shaq's side of the chasm. Jackson felt more of a connection over there. He gave O'Neal the most encouragement and the most criticism. Winter was among some assistants who tended to side with Kobe, and Tex actually cut film for the sole purpose of trying to prove to Shaq that Kobe was passing more than ever before, which statistically he was. In one of his many books, Phil Jackson recounts a scene that...
I think it's like one of those things, right? He was upset Kobe wasn't passing enough. Kobe comes back, he's passing more, but whenever he doesn't the occasional time he might miss a player, that frustration tends to come back out, and you kind of lose sight of all the good things he's been doing, and you focus on that one thing and treat it as if it's been something that's been consistently bad when it hasn't. That's a real human thing. It's a real human thing.
That may have been a bit of a turning point for this first chapter of beef. Right after that 16-game win streak, the Lakers had a little string of ugly losses and unconvincing victories. After one of those 2 close wins against the Cavaliers, Shaq supposedly announced in front of the whole team that Kobe was playing too selfishly for the Lakers to win. Once again, he ignited a full team debate about the right way to play. This time, however, some guys seemed to side with Kobe, and Kobe spoke up for himself a bit. Whatever was said in that debate, whatever the guys took away from it, something clicked the rest of that season. The Lakers won an astounding 30 of 31 games from February to April, with Shaq leading the way. 67 wins overall made LA one of the best regular season teams in history. On Shaq's 28th birthday, he dropped a career-high 61 points on the Clippers. Look who passed up a clean look to get Shaq over the 60-point hump. And look how gladly Shaq returned the favor before exiting.
I remember that,
though. And Kobe makes his spectacular underneath.
Shaq was league MVP in a landslide. Kobe was more efficient, more team-oriented than ever. Headlines compared the duo sincerely and favorably to Magic and Kareem. At last, Shaq made it back to the finals. LA cemented their Western Conference final victory against the Portland Trail Blazers with what else? A picture-perfect Kobe to Shaq connection that shook the Staples Center. Shaq led the way in those 2000 finals, dominating the Indiana Pacers down low. Kobe had his moments too, playing hero late in Game 4 despite a bad ankle. Shaq always reminds people of that season's final scene, the first thing that happened when the clock struck 0 on the long-awaited championship. Shaq and Kobe were together in the locker room, basking in glory. They were together in praise of their coach, the guy who instilled patience and collaboration in teammates who had lacked it. Thanks to Phil, Shaq and Kobe figured out how to make a basket. They did it by basically following Shaq's vision. Ever since the broken hand delayed his debut, Kobe had been a sidekick. He passed more than ever and scored when called upon. Shaq got the ball. He got to be big brother. He got to be finals MVP, and he got his ring. Mission accomplished. Beef presumably over. Time to celebrate. Phil went to Montana to relax. Shaq went to Vegas to party. Kobe stayed in LA. Players who want to become better scorers spend all offseason in the gym putting up shots. They almost always quantify that daily work in the hundreds. 300 shots a day, 400, 500. Every now and then you'll see numbers quoted in the thousands. The offseason after his Lakers won that first championship, this was the number trailing Kobe Bryant. But this isn't the number of shots. This is the number of makes in however many more attempts. Shaq celebrated. Phil relaxed. Kobe they
worked.
said, made 2,000 baskets a day. All summer long.
Yeah, Kobe was a psycho, man. Beautifully done, beautifully done. So that was Big Brother, Little Brother, Part 1. So well done, yo. Secret Base is the jump off, baby. Do people still say the jump off? Probably not. Secret Base is the jump off. All right, Big Dog, Little Dog, Part 2. Let's go, Secret Base.
Fried shrimp, melted
Love
cheese,
it. Love it.
mayonnaise, ketchup, all on a roll. This is a Shaq Daddy sandwich. When he played in Orlando, Shaquille O'Neal ordered this custom sandwich often enough that a local restaurant put it on the menu. On the night in 2000, when he won his first championship with the LA Lakers, Shaq couldn't sleep. So his personal chef made him a Shaq Daddy at 5 a.m. After finally getting some shut-eye, Shaq did a week or two of media appearances, enjoyed the championship parade, then headed to Vegas to do Vegas stuff with his friends. After that, he went home to Orlando, hunted a little, and hung out by the pool. All this comes from one of several O'Neal autobiographies, Shaq Talks Back, published in early 2001. Apparently, he also spent some time that offseason writing. When he was ready, Shaq returned to LA and signed a maximum salary contract extension with the Lakers. He joked he would spend all this new money on Krispy Kreme donuts. In reality, he got a new custom car and a bunch of gifts for his teammates. This hard-earned contract was the perfect capstone to a well-deserved summer vacation, the same way anyone would celebrate the greatest achievement of their career. Well, okay, almost anyone. If you want to get promoted to lead basket maker, you've got to spend your free time making some baskets. Kobe Bryant's original plan for the summer of 2000 wasn't just to shoot all day, every day. When Kobe declined an Olympic invitation, he said it was because he intended to use that time to marry his fiancée, Vanessa, go on a European honeymoon, and visit the Italian pro basketball team in which he and his family had invested. But Kobe didn't get married that summer. He and Vanessa pushed their wedding date to the following year. Kobe didn't maintain his commitment to the Italian team, selling his entire share. Instead, Kobe made baskets. Now, 2,000 makes a day is an incredible number, and some people questioned it, but that's Kobe. The stories about Kobe's long, late hours of intense training are innumerable. They border on mythology. Kobe's work ethic, though, was real, and it was a clear difference between him and Shaq. O'Neal admits he never shared Kobe's tunnel vision on his practice, not to mention his metabolism. Shaq wasn't a natural salad eater. This comes from yet another autobiography. Some of this discrepancy was just two guys being different ages and at different places in their personal lives, and some of it had to do with their different basket-making techniques. Kobe was working on shots from range, runners, floaters, pull-ups, turnarounds, fadeaways, finesse stuff. Shaq was a masterful, close-range steamroller. He didn't feel like anyone could stop his moves toward the rim, so he didn't have much to improve upon before each season.
Yes.
He was pretty candid about this in that landmark players-only conversation with Kobe.
So I admit a lot of times I didn't come into camp ready, because that's just how I got done. Because my thing is, I don't need to get ready for dunking.
Especially not with Kobe doing his thing.
Because I had you, I was able to just chill out in the summer.
They laughed about this in retirement, but
that's what pissed me off. That was it right there. That was.
Years later, Kobe expressed, with hindsight, his belief that those Lakers could have won more than 3 titles if Shaq just trained harder.
Okay, so when I heard Kobe say this, I had put out a video. Well, not when I heard Kobe say it at that moment. I wasn't doing YouTube at the time. But I had put out a video, I think last year, in which I vehemently disagreed with Kobe when he said they think they could have won 12 rings. No. I vehemently disagree. Sorry, Kobe. Love you to death, but that's cap, dog. And I called you out on a video right here on this channel. Ain't no way in hell y'all winning 12 rings. No. Hell no.
It was the subject of the last little public tiff between these guys, albeit one they immediately downplayed. But back in 2000, that gap in preparation mattered. It reignited the work beef. Kobe's untimely injuries had relegated him to sidekick status for important parts of the first championship season, the very beginning and the very end. He was a heroic sidekick at times, but almost always secondary to Shaq, who was regular season and finals MVP of 2000. Looking ahead to 2001, Kobe was done with that. He came into training camp insistent that his summer of hard work of however many baskets entitled him to a bigger role. And early season circumstances left the Laker offense ripe for such a coup. Derek Fisher had been expected to take over as lead guard of the Lakers' triangle offense, the chief basketball distributor, but he was sidelined following foot surgery. Most everyone else let their conditioning slip a bit while celebrating the championship. Not Kobe. Kobe was more prepared and more eager than everyone else, and he got more touches with Fisher out. His attempted takeover happened gradually at first, possessions here and there in which he ignored Shaq down low to take the shot himself. Shaq didn't wait to voice his displeasure, privately and publicly. Shaq made his point on the court too. Lakers coaches thought their center was, through some combination of petulance and poor conditioning, not running or defending with 100% effort. This only emboldened Kobe. On November 8th, 2000, in a pretty bad loss to Tim Duncan and the Spurs, Kobe set a new career high of 31 shot attempts, hitting 15 of them. Shaq only took 13 shots, despite playing nearly the same minutes. Again, Shaq bristled, but here you could point to another variable, Hack-a-Shaq. More and more, when O'Neal got the ball in a good scoring position, teams would just foul him and put him on the free throw line. More and more, Shaq missed those free throws. Foul shooting had always been the big guy's weakness, yet he had hardly worked to fill that hole in his game. In fact, instead of refining his form with practice, he'd kind of arbitrarily tweaked it, evidently for the worse. O'Neal admitted all of this in Shaq Talks Back, with a little smiley face. As long as Hack-a-Shaq remained a viable defense, as long as Shaq wasn't going to make those free baskets, Kobe reasoned he shouldn't get the ball. So, Kobe kept shooting. 2001 would be the first season in their careers in which Kobe attempted more field goals than Shaq did. Phil Jackson, once the savior of this rocky partnership, had no grip on a healthy and motivated Kobe. Phil told him to dial things down a bit. Kobe said, "Nope, I'm dialing up." This game at Golden State in December stands out as exemplary. Kobe made it a shootout between himself and the Warriors' Antoine Jameson.
Oh, they both
Down
scored
the
50.
stretch of what ended up being an overtime battle, Kobe repeatedly ran pick and roll with Shaq and repeatedly ignored the roller to take the shot himself. Reject the screen, beat Larry Hughes off the dribble, shoot. Take the handoff, dribble into the corner, still contested, shoot. During timeouts, an exasperated Shaq demanded Kobe pass him the ball. No. Spin away from the pick, draw a second defender, shoot. Not much of a screen, no separation, doesn't matter, shoot. That night, Kobe shot the ball 35 times, and plenty of them went in. He matched Jameson with 51 points, the first 50-point game of his career. Shaq took 18 shots, and the Lakers lost to the Warriors.
Now, I still believe to this day this is the only game in regular season, where two players both scored 50 points. It happened recently, I think in the bubble when, and the playoffs, it happened in the bubble with, was it Jamal Murray and Donovan Mitchell, if I'm not mistaken? Could be wrong.
A pretty bad team. No one was happy, but Shaq and Kobe weren't going to talk it out. Kobe once explained that when things got tense, he and Shaq didn't speak to each other so much as they spoke about each other. They used the media. Reporters often had to pick one perspective or the other. There were Shaq guys and there were Kobe guys. If you hung around one for quotes, the other was likely to cut you off. You got more regular work as a Shaq guy. Where Kobe's myth-making came from tight-lipped solitude, Shaq built his own mythology by talking and talking and talking. He wrote books, he criticized, he boasted, he teased and joshed and fibbed and backtracked enough that you didn't know quite what to believe. Did he want to trade? He reportedly told new GM Mitch Kupchak he did, but then played coy with reporters and let his agent deny it. Did he consider heading back to Orlando to play with Tracy McGrady? He did say that, but then he denied saying it. That entire book O'Neal released around this time, Shaq Talks Back, Shaq later said he never read it. On a day-to-day basis, Shaq's loose words were likeliest to stoke the perception of a feud, but then he always reserved the option to laugh at you for taking him seriously. Shaq seemed to enjoy
Dude, I have a coworker like that.
manipulating the media by being messy. Kobe chose his words more carefully. When he said something pointed, it was very pointy indeed. There was no mistaking it. It wouldn't be in the regular locker room scrum. He'd pick a reporter for a separate one-on-one exclusive. That 2000-2001 season, it was ESPN's Rick Bucher. If the beef had been quietly defrosting through the first few months of the season, this January issue of ESPN magazine suddenly lit a grease fire. Occupying the whole cover, a solitary Kobe says he's second to nobody. And yes, nobody includes Shaq. Though not a direct quote, that headline does not betray the text. Bucher had filled a notebook with spicy quotations and anecdotes. This was where the world found out Kobe told his coach he would not moderate his approach to fit the team concept. And maybe this wasn't the right team for him. Kobe said he wasn't going to take a back seat like prior seasons. He worked too hard and improved too much to remain a sidekick. Bucher was clearly becoming a Kobe guy, but he got Shaq on the record too. Shaq didn't like the new program. He invoked the idea of the sidekick, the setup artist, the Magic and Penny model. Someone's got to feed the big dog. If the big dog's not fed, he's just a token big man screening and rolling for nothing. Shaq basically threatened to withhold interior defense if he didn't get the ball. There had been rumors that he used hand signals to discourage teammates from letting Kobe dictate the offense. Shaq was like, if I am, they're not working. Well, explained Kobe, maybe the big dog would get fed if he hit his free throws. Bryant couldn't trust Shaq or anyone else as much as he trusted himself to lead the offense. The Lakers succeeded back when the ball moved through Shaq, but they were going to succeed even harder now with Kobe in charge. Instead of 5 and 7 game series, they'd be sweeping their playoff opponents. This article was incendiary enough that Kobe warned teammates it was coming, but the flame could not be unlit. Now feeling rather chatty, Kobe filled the papers with more tinder. He didn't regret saying he trusted himself more than teammates. And regarding Shaq's nostalgia for the old program, well, he may want that back, but it was time to evolve. Responding through the New York Times, Shaq basically said, fine, yeah, we did evolve. It's Kobe's team, and look at it. Our record is worse, and we're playing without passion. If you like it better this way, it could only be for selfish reasons. Asked to respond to that, Kobe told Shaq to focus on defense. Don't worry so much about scoring. To which Shaq said, basically, no. I'm not Dikembe Mutombo, and I'm not Luke Longley. We are not an outside team. We're an inside-out team.
Shaq's right.
Let's talk about that. Because all this bluster, all these catty little quotes seem to revolve around one extremely basic disagreement.
Triangle offense.
Why did Shaq keep invoking the name of Luke Longley? Well, when Phil Jackson coached the triangle offense in Chicago, his best offensive player was Michael Jordan, who would play guard or wing in most lineups. Because Jordan was the biggest threat to score, he got to hold the ball a lot in basically any of these locations, and he got to decide what to do with it. Guard him one-on-one, and he would beat you. Send a second defender, and he might still beat you, or, if he felt generous, he would move the ball to one of these other bulls waiting nearby. Luke Longley was one of those other bulls. He was the center, the biggest guy in most lineups, but on a team with MJ and Scottie Pippen and Tony Kukoc, he didn't spend much time with the ball, dictating the offense. Luke spaced the floor for Michael. He set screens for Michael. He stood over here and waited for Michael to pass out of help or miss a shot he could rebound, that kind of stuff. In other words, Michael Jordan was the first option.
Correct.
The most orthodox version of Phil and Tex Winter's offense favored interior options. If you've got Shaq instead of Luke Longley, it makes sense to run those more traditional plays that put the ball in the center's hands. Make this pass and let Shaq go to work in the post. He can beat this guy, or both these guys,
Yeah.
or kick it out to the open man. The Shaq who won MVP did not just set screens, rebound, and defend. He made decisions with the ball. He was a traditional first option. So all this big dog stuff was just Shaq reasserting his claim on an offensive role. Bring the ball up, throw it into me, I'll make the plays from there, inside, out. He didn't hate Kobe, he needed Kobe, like they were married. Kobe saw it differently, especially in critical moments. He wanted to create from the...
Yeah, that's Kobe, but post Shaq and when him and Phil reunited, then Kobe got to be that guy Jordan was in the triangle offense. And he went to 3 straight finals and won 2 championships. So we've seen him doing on both different versions of the triangle.
The wing, control the ball, make decisions, not unlike what Michael used to do from his position. Kobe's case came back to preparation. If he passed to Shaq down low, teams could negate any threat by just intentionally putting him on the foul line. Just like Shaq said, nothing personal, they just went their separate ways. Because you can be sure Shaq wasn't saying this stuff to Kobe. For a little while, he even stopped speaking to reporters. His point had been made. This is a pretty funny end to a long interview segment.
We should point out that Shaq refused to comment on the story.
Only Kobe spoke to Jim Gray that day. He suggested he understood Shaq's terms.
I know what he wants. I know that. Oh yeah, I know how to get him easy baskets. Oh, absolutely. That's easy.
And he acknowledged Shaq wasn't alone in wanting to go back to the old way.
When he says to you, it's got to come through the big dog, or at least when he says that publicly, does he say those same things to you?
He doesn't. But Phil does.
Indeed, Phil Jackson kind of threw up his hands in a way that left the responsibility arrow pointing in one direction.
Kobe knew how we played last year. He was the one. Shaq's not going to change.
Magic Johnson came in the Lakers locker room before a game against the Cavaliers and said something similar. One of you is going to have to defer. And he left it at that. Kobe knew everyone meant him. Again, we can't have the big fella be unhappy. It probably wasn't a coincidence that Bryant seemed more eager to feed the big dog that night against Cleveland, or that he notched his first career triple-double a couple days later against Vancouver, while Shaq led the Lakers in scoring. These were gestures in Shaq's direction, but do not mistake this for an easy, pleasant adjustment.
Right.
Kobe had a lot going on at the time. Off the court, he was juggling family issues. His engagement and long-awaited April wedding to Vanessa complicated his relationship with his parents and siblings. Bad feelings led Kobe to cut those close relatives out of his business dealings, and for a time...
So if anybody's curious who don't know, Kobe's parents did not like the idea of him being with or marrying a Latina or somebody that wasn't black.
His life. On the court, Kobe felt, to use Tex Winter's word, discouraged. Winter's wife thought Kobe seemed heartbroken. After training so hard to become a great individual player, here he was getting criticized from all angles for what? Working? His play, his willingness to tone down his scoring prowess and keep the big guy happy, vacillated night to night with wildly mixed results. Then, once again, health intervened, perhaps at the right time. Kobe had been bedeviled by little injuries all season, and they added up. Yet another ankle issue cost him a bunch of games after the All-Star break, chunks of February, March, and April. Already isolated, already discouraged, Kobe spent his downtime reflecting. At some point, he spoke with Jerry West, who had moved on to a new job in Memphis. It helped to reconnect with the guy who made Kobe a Laker. The guy who, as a Laker himself, once adjusted his high-scoring game to fit a domineering big man in Wilt Chamberlain. With West in his ear, Kobe observed. Kobe observed Phil disparaging him in the press, jokes about Kobe while promoting his new book. armchair psychoanalysis, rumor mongering about Kobe's past, candid critiques about Kobe's resistance to the triangle, him wanting to be Michael. Kobe observed Derek Fisher finally making his season debut, manning the point guard spot, getting the ball moving. Kobe observed Shaq quietly picking.
It's a bit misleading in a way, just because the triangle really didn't designate a de facto point guard in the triangle offense. But when Derek Fisher did get back, the Lakers took off. They took off and they never looked back, man. Fisher, one of the greatest role players of all time. Love Fish. Love Fish. Keep in mind, Kobe won all 5 of his championships with Derek Fisher. He trusted Fisher more than anybody. That was his ace.
Up his effort and his preparation. Magic saw it too. Shaq took some responsibility, worked on some stuff, defended, didn't miss quite as many free throws.
There you go, Shaq.
Whatever it was that moved Kobe, everyone agreed that by the time he returned to the lineup for good, he was different. He talked to his teammates, opened up, didn't just block out the world with his headphones like before. He tried to fit in, not be the next Michael. The media commended this. So did Phil. So did Shaq. The Lakers did it again. They coalesced at the right time and, as Kobe had predicted, blazed through an almost perfect playoff run. LA lost 1 game across 4 series en route to a second consecutive NBA championship. Kobe dazzled everyone with some otherworldly performances, nights on which his hard work and creativity made him an unguardable scorer.
Yeah.
During LA's obliteration of the rival Spurs in the 2001 Western Conference Finals, Shaq proclaimed that Kobe was his idol. Everyone was like, "For real?" Shaq said, "Yes, for real." But, once again, Shaq led the way overall. The succession of sweeps didn't look exactly like what Kobe had envisioned back when he said he trusted himself more than his teammates. Shaq was often the first option, especially in the finals, where he earned a second straight series MVP after absolutely smushing the Sixers inside.
So I did a video about this specific playoff run where you could argue Kobe led the way up into the finals and Shaq took over. Like you said, Kobe had some beastly performances in those first, second, and third rounds, especially against the Kings and the San Antonio Spurs. Yeah, he was beasting. No question about it.
Immediately after winning his second ring, Kobe sounded relieved. Not just to have won, but to have found some inner peace and some peace with Shaq.
Well, I had so much going on outside of the game of basketball that people didn't know about, and it just felt good to pull through the season, to come through with another championship. It definitely feels good.
How about Shaq? What was his take on the detente? After the second title, O'Neal released an updated edition of Shaq Talks Back. In this new chapter, he took some blame for fueling the early season animosity, then going into a shell. He also said Kobe would become the greatest player in the history of the game. He invited the Michael comparison, predicted Kobe might soon overtake him. But Shaq was still Shaq. Why did things work out? Why did the work beef resolve? The big dog got fed. Smiley face. That is what it would take to keep this beef dormant. And it mostly stayed that way for a couple seasons to come. In 01-02, the relationship looked stronger than ever. Shaq and Kobe each made shows of public support when the other one was suspended. Again, Kobe led the Lakers in the regular season and registered some outstanding playoff performances, but again, in the NBA Finals, Shaq was unmistakably the first option. When it really counted, he made the baskets. A third
Iconic
straight
picture.
championship trophy for the Lakers. A third straight Finals MVP for Shaq. It's all good. Congrats, greatest. Congrats, most dominant. In 02-03, Kobe seemed at peace with this push and pull, with adjusting his game to suit Shaq's needs and his wavering health after foot surgery. He said he was a piece of the puzzle. They won with him, they won with Shaq. That was what mattered. the individual stuff meant nothing without the wins. Working like this would only become difficult if the Lakers stopped winning. He didn't ever want to know how that felt. LA had a fraught, distracted 03 season. Shaq had his foot stuff, Phil faced health issues of his own, Shaq mourned the death of his grandfather, Kobe still wasn't on speaking terms with his dad, both Shaq and Kobe had new babies at home. The worn-down Lakers scrapped their way to just 50 regular season wins. And in the second round of the playoffs, it finally happened. After 3 straight championships
Spurs.
and 13 straight playoff series victories, the Lakers were eliminated in the postseason. The Spurs got them. There it was, that feeling. Shaq sounded apologetic, but optimistic. Get some rest, get some new blood, start a new run. Kobe sounded less sanguine. He was beside himself. The dreaded feeling was as bad as he imagined. Foreign. He hated it. Reflecting on this now toppled Lakers dynasty, Kobe said, "Careers go by fast. You have to take every opportunity you get." LA had just blown one such opportunity. A month later, Kobe said he intended to opt out of his contract after the 03-04 season, 1 year in the future. Kobe Bryant, who had only ever played for the Lakers, was going to explore his options.
Again. Excellent. Well done, Secret Base. Well done. There was actually another thing in that 2002-2003 season. Was that the year? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the year where Kobe ripped off 9 straight 40-point games, was cooking. Shaq was out for the most part. The Lakers were winning. Kobe was playing on another level. And then Shaq came back at some point in that streak. And then Phil Jackson was like, look, we're winning. You're cooking. But Shaq is kind of being left out of this. And I don't want to lose Shaq in all of this. So I need you to dial it down. And let's try to get the big fella more involved, you know. And Kobe's like, we're winning. I'm playing balls to the wall. Dial down for what? But he did. All right. Let's go on to the next one. I'm sure this is going to have to do a lot with the sexual assault allegations and Shaq snitching out, or Kobe snitching out Shaq, saying that, you know, Shaq cheats on his wife or cheats on his wife too, but he pays women off or something like that. And Shaq was like, where's he at? I'm going to kill him. And it was, now is when it was not about basketball. And this is when the rift was the craziest, bro. Craziest. The fact that they even got to the finals that season through all of that stuff going on with Kobe's trials and, you know, going to court and showing up to the game right after court, icing game winners and all this. It was a crazy season. The addition of Karl Malone and Gary Payton being disgruntled because, you know, he was getting benched for Derek Fisher and not being able to be a point guard in a triangle offense. It was so much stuff going on that season. But this one is called I May Have Messed Something Up. Part 3, the final part of it all. Let's get into it.
You might not know this man's name, but you probably recognize him. You've seen him here and here and here. We could do this for a while.
I know who he
This is Jim Gray, a sports reporter in every sense of the word. Gray has had the determination to pursue tough and unwilling subjects, the good fortune to witness historic events, and the access to interview athletes within their locker rooms, press rooms, and fields of play. Access, if played right, begets another form of sports reporting. Alongside all the stories Gray got by digging and prying is a long list of stories for which the subject pursued him. Mike Tyson wrote to Gray from prison. LeBron James chose Gray to host his Decision TV special. Tom Brady started a podcast with Gray. This is trust. Throughout a multi-decade, multi-Hall of Fame career, Gray has been trusted as the confidant and the medium for Titanic sports figures who want the world to know something. Gray's autobiography, Talking to Goats, boasts his relationship with a stacked roster of greatest of all time athletes who trust him.
Jordan,
one of these relationships was particularly special. Gray worked for the San Diego Clippers in the early 80s when Joe Jellybean Bryant was on the team. He met Joe's son when the kid was still in diapers. So Gray knew to keep an eye on Kobe Bryant during his rise to stardom. Once Bryant got there, his pre-existing connection with Gray led to access and trust. One of Kobe's first big national TV interviews as a pro, Jim Gray. That 2001 interview to discuss Kobe's mid-season conflict with Shaq, Jim Gray. Kobe's interview immediately after the Lakers won it all again that year, Gray. And after the Lakers were eliminated in the spring of 2003, who got the exclusive story that Kobe intended to become a free agent after one more season? Yes, Jim Gray. So it's no surprise that this reporter played a part in the other major stories of Bryant's 03 offseason. Let's be clear that these stories overlap, but they are not proportionate. One of the stories is important. In the summer of 2003, while visiting Colorado for a knee operation, Kobe Bryant was arrested and charged with the sexual assault of a 19-year-old hotel employee.
I guess this is another thing that I have been wrong about. I thought he went to Colorado for shoulder surgery. Or did we look that for his shoulder? I didn't think it was his knee. Because I thought it had to do with that year that they lost in the finals, sometime in the regular season or something like that. He did a dunk against the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think it's the one against the Timberwolves where he came baseline, took the gravity out of the center, boom, reverse, 180 joint, and then he skid across the floor on his shoulder. But I always thought it was shoulder surgery, not his knee. Damn it. Secret base. The little details I've been getting wrong. Now, hold up. I got to fact check myself again. Damn, it was a knee. It was the knee. I ain't doubting you, Secret Base, but this whole time I thought it was for shoulder. And I thought it had to do with that after he hurt his shoulder on that dunk against the Timberwolves on Kevin Garnett when he went baseline. Wow. The little details I've been having wrong. Thank you, Secret Base. Thank you, Secret Base, for setting it straight, baby. Thank you. All right, let's get back to it.
On July 18th, the day Bryant was formally charged, CNN called Jim Gray. Live on air, Gray vouched for Bryant's character. Then he reported from the news conference in which Bryant, sitting beside his wife Vanessa and his attorneys, denied the charges but admitted to adultery. The criminal case was dismissed over a year later, and a civil lawsuit settled thereafter. This is the important Kobe Bryant story from this era. It's real life. Jeff Pearlman's book, 3 Ring Circus, reviews the whole story. We are here to talk about something relatively unimportant. Sports. Work beef between Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal. This story was influenced by the big real-life one. And again, Jim Gray played a part in its telling. In August of 2003, Bryant told Lakers GM Mitch Kupchak that he hadn't received any support from his co-star after the allegations. Kupchak replied, and Shaq later confirmed, that O'Neal's bodyguard, Jerome, left Kobe messages on his behalf. Kobe said messages weren't enough, and according to Coach Phil Jackson, also said that the moment Shaq started talking to the press, he would fire back. Shaq, meanwhile...
Now see, that part, and it's not saying it's not true, it's just, like, I guess that wouldn't become the Kobe... How is this? This version of Kobe... Now see, this was a strange area for Kobe because this is It was a life-altering, life-changing. It was such a stressful situation where, for somebody as steadfast as Kobe, somebody who's so calculated, somebody who's so laser-focused and knows what to do every single time, this was the one point in Kobe's life where I felt like he didn't know what to do. And he stumbled in so many different situations from which point, he got accused of sexual assault. It was the one time where Kobe Bryant, where I was like, you didn't really think that through, buddy, did you? You know what I mean? And just that right there, him saying that, he needed support from Shaq. He wanted support from Shaq. This isn't enough. That isn't enough. It's just like the Kobe Bryant that he would eventually become wouldn't need that. And if it felt some type of way about it, he only used it as fuel on the court. But during this period of time is when Kobe was vulnerable, and it affected how he acted and his decision making. Honestly, I've always felt that. I have. The fact that he snitched out Shaq the way he did, he wasn't thinking straight. And I know he matured and became better and regretted it, but he was vulnerable, and he had many missteps in that process. Kobe Bryant did. Absolutely.
Was hearing of something the rest of the world would learn much later. During Kobe's initial interrogation with detectives, he made an offhand comment that he should have done what Shaq does. Shaq, he said, pays women up to $1 million not to say anything. Shaq heard all this around the same time he was hoping to get a big contract extension from the Lakers, an extension that seemed increasingly unlikely as September turned to October. Kobe's impending free agency had something to do with that. So there is the backdrop for the last chapter of our story, the month-long climax of the Shaq-Kobe beef. October 2003. On Thursday, October 2nd, Lakers vets flew to Honolulu to join their younger teammates for training camp. Among them were two very important newcomers. Fresh off LA's first playoff defeat of the century, Shaq had recruited a couple fading legends hoping to grab a ring before they retired: Gary Payton and Karl Malone. Huge new cogs in a very different Lakers roster that would need time to gel. Kobe Bryant didn't join his teammates for that first day of camp on Friday in Honolulu. Everyone knew about his court case and about his knee rehab, but it wasn't that. Kobe just said he was under the weather. Reporters asked Shaq how it felt to open camp without the full team present. "The full team is here," said Shaq. "Wait, what about Kobe?" Here's what Shaq had to say about his teammates' absence. "Meow, meow, meow. Are you disappointed that Kobe wasn't bonding with his teammates? Are you angry at Kobe?" Shaq's protocol for questions about his teammate was cat. Can't answer that. On Saturday, Kobe finally showed up in Honolulu to join his teammates and face the media. Sunday, Phil Jackson canceled Lakers practice for some team bonding. While the Lakers ran around playing paintball at an Air Force station, Shaq mostly sniped from a stationary position. He was nursing a bruised heel, but Kobe said Shaq was in the back eating a slushie or something. This is all in good fun, but Shaq's foot issues and his related desire for a contract extension were no joke to him. He made that clear during exhibition play in Honolulu, barking directly at Lakers owner Jerry Buss. 2 days later, the Lakers flew from Hawaii back to LA. Aboard the plane, Shaq busted out a portable turntable and speakers, with which he produced and then played a parody of the 50 Cent song P.I.M.P. with lyrics about Kobe's case.
I have never heard that before. Like, I know about after Kobe lost in the 2008 finals, Shaq was in the club, he did the rap, "You know who I be, last week Kobe couldn't do without me." But I've never heard this one to the 50 Cent PIMP lyrics. I don't know what you heard about me. Kobe's a bitch everyone can see, but you ain't never gonna see me on TV talking about, R.A.P. to the... I did not know this. I did not know. This is my first time hearing this. Damn, that's cold.
With lyrics about Kobe's case. Kobe didn't witness that. He was headed to Colorado for court proceedings. Kobe rejoined his teammates for Media Day on Friday. He said the back and forth for court was no big deal. Shaq said he wasn't paying attention to the case. The only TV he watched was SpongeBob. He wasn't going to comment or speculate. He just wanted to be a source of relaxation for Bryant, to help him laugh, to be his pillow, his comforter. When the Lakers headed to San Diego for an exhibition against the Phoenix Suns, Kobe was absent again. His knee was bothering him, and he had to jet off to Colorado anyway. Shaq didn't play in that game either because of his heel, but he spoke, and not like a cat. Asked why he kept resting, Shaq said he wanted to be right for Derek Fisher, Karl Malone, and Gary Payton. Reporters noted he was forgetting someone. Nope, he repeated the same list verbatim. Derek, Karl, Gary. No mention of Kobe. The following week, Kobe and Shaq finally played preseason together. Kobe made his debut in Anaheim, then played again in the Lakers' exhibition finale against the Kings in Las Vegas. The crowds in those two neutral locations were loud in their support for Kobe, the player and the person. But the player was clearly still shaking off the post-surgery rust. He shot just 7 for 24 over those last.
The NBA is cruel. You know what they did? His first game of the regular season was in Denver, Carmelo Anthony's rookie year. Oh, Kobe, out of court, shows up to the game. Game winner with all the venom in the Denver stadium. I'm getting ahead of him.
After watching that performance, Shaq shared a familiar sentiment in a familiar venue. Instead of speaking to Kobe, he spoke about Kobe to the media assembled in Vegas. If Kobe's going to be on the court, he needs to keep other people involved, be more of a passer. That was the last day of preseason, Friday, October 24th. Kobe had said he would fire back the moment Shaq spoke out. Sunday, reporters visited Lakers practice 2 days before their season opener. Here's what they found. Beef. Kobe kept his word. Responding to that relatively tame suggestion that he pass more, Kobe said, "I'm not changing my game. I take good shots. I know how to play my position. You worry about yours." Teammates overheard Kobe saying he would opt out the next summer and leave, all because of Shaq. When Shaq got wind of this escalation, he stopped being tame. We're not talking about positions. We're talking about team basketball. If it's going to be my team, then that's my opinion. Don't like it, then leave. I don't care what Kobe does. He doesn't care what we do. That's the type of person he is. Shaq chastised Kobe for skipping team functions and for not traveling with the Lakers. He said he was taking control of the Lakers, but noted the media might rather give that control to Kobe, just like they give him everything. That, right before the season starts, is a lot. But Shaq also said, as he had in the past, that beef wouldn't affect the actual basketball the Lakers had to start playing in 48 hours. Speaking of actual basketball, Kobe mentioned a specific stretch of the prior season, one that's worth recalling to understand what comes next. One big reason 02-03 was so disappointing was Shaq's health. He delayed long-needed foot surgery until right before the season began. O'Neal missed a lot of games, a lot of losses while rehabbing, and then struggled to play his way into shape. Shaq did not apologize for the inconvenience. He had been injured on company time, so he'd recover on company time. He'd rather miss part of the season than rehab during his vacation. During a stretch of February 03, when Shaq was hobbling and sometimes absent, Phil gave Kobe an explicit green light to take over the offense. So Kobe floored it. 46, 42, 51, 44, 40, 52,
I told you.
40, 40, 41. Bryant scored 40 or more points in 9 straight games, tying the best such streak of Michael Jordan's career. Only Michael and Wilt Chamberlain had recorded such a feat. The moment Shaq and Phil allowed space for him to do so, the 24-year-old Kobe proved he could make baskets on par with the greatest scorers to ever walk the earth. And then he stopped, ostensibly on purpose. Here, according to Kobe many years later, is what followed.
Shaq comes back from injury and Phil goes, I still continue to do it, right? And then Phil calls me to his office, goes, hey, we're starting to lose the big fella. What do you mean? Well, he's not getting the attention. This 40-point streak is starting to kind of take away his fire to prove something, right? So I need you to start dialing it back. I'm like, what? He says, we're going to lose him, and we need him in June. Okay. All right. We have a game against the Clippers. I think I like 38 or something like that. And I had a chance to score 40 and get 40 again. It was a blowout game. I dumped the ball in the Shaq instead of shooting a wide open shot. The 40-point streak ended that night.
Wow.
Now, Kobe's recollection fudges some details.
A little bit
He only
off.
had 32 points that night against the Clippers, and he kept shooting well into the fourth quarter. But it is absolutely true that when Kobe was riding that streak, Shaq sounded annoyed. I guess it's cool. And then, as usual, he whined. He wanted more shots. He name-dropped an old, inferior Jordan teammate. I'm not Bill Cartwright. I'm not a token big man. Bumfoot or not, I want the ball. Vintage Shaq stuff. It is also true that Phil responded by sort of rescinding the green light. And it is true that Kobe obeyed. In March and April 03, he passed much more while scoring merely a lot of points rather than the godlike 40 a game he had averaged in February. So, returning to October, this was what Kobe referred to in his response to Shaq's accusations of selfishness. Kobe was just following orders. The day all these quotes hit the papers, October 27th, Phil called a meeting to clear the air. Each of Shaq and Kobe said his piece. Phil demanded they keep everything in-house. Karl Malone begged them to just knock it off. The meeting adjourned. Maybe the air was indeed clear. That night, Kobe called Jim Gray. Gray was busy interviewing the governor of California about deadly wildfires, but Kobe wanted an interview. Gray published their conversation on ESPN that night. The air was not clear. Nearly every one of Kobe's answers fired a shot at Shaq. Fat, out of shape, over-dramatizing his foot injuries, not a leader, childlike, selfish, jealous, not my quote-unquote big brother. His unprofessionalism hurt us last year, and I don't want it to hurt us this year. That is an avalanche, and it's not even the full transcript. Kobe gave another quote about Shaq having less pride than the guy who makes donuts at 7-Eleven, but Gray cut it because he was worried it might wreck his relationship with Shaq. Suffice to say, the damage was done with or without that line. Shaq saw the interview that night. He told teammates he was going to kill Kobe. Immediately, Brian Shaw's phone started to ring. Shaq and Kobe's old teammate had just retired, but
I have remember that slightly differently. I thought that he said he was going to kill him. No, see how I remember that wouldn't even make sense because they weren't going into training camp yet. So he wouldn't have said it then because of the Kobe snitching. So yeah, that makes more sense. I guess I never really looked at it logically.
Multiple Lakers made the same plea. Get to LA immediately. The next morning, Shaq says, he arrived at the practice facility to find Shaw waiting for him, along with Jerome and a few teammates. Kobe rolled in, sounding unimpressed by Shaq's threats, but Shaw insisted Shaq was not messing around. Everyone assembled in a theater room, and they got to screaming. Both Lakers PR guy John Black and O'Neal himself say Shaw at one point had to step in and prevent Shaq from going after Kobe. With Shaw as mediator, both guys restated their gripes. Current Lakers chimed in to explain how much this conflict hurt them. Shaq told Kobe if he ever said anything like that again, he'd kill him. Kobe responded, whatever. The relationship looked worse than ever. Kobe received a team fine for the ESPN interview. Then he told reporters he and Shaq were cool, past it, ready to move on. It's over. Shaq stonewalled those reporters for a couple days, saying they weren't on his level intelligence-wise. But then, after the first game of the season, Shaq spoke. At Phil's urging, O'Neal agreed to a truce. We have to move on. I'm boisterous, he's boisterous. Nothing personal, we're used to it, we need each other, yin and yang, opposites attract. That was October 31st. The month of beef had concluded. Back to basketball.
Lord.
On paper, the Lakers had a good 03-04 season. They started really hot, persevered through some injuries, and made it back to the NBA Finals. Between the lines, well, Phil wrote a whole book documenting that season's palace intrigue from his perspective. Phil and Kobe had to work through major problems with each other. Phil and Shaq, both awaiting contract extensions, stood united in their...
To hear Phil say Kobe is too complex of a person says a lot. But I gotta hand it to Phil, man. I don't think anybody else could have coached those two. Not no Greg Popovich, nobody. Phil.
Their suspicion that the Lakers would prioritize Kobe's 04 free agency, and that Kobe would ultimately decide their fates. It was a reasonable suspicion, given the way Jerry Buss spoke about Kobe. And please don't forget, Kobe was awaiting trial for sexual assault this whole time. For a winning basketball season, 2003-2004 was extraordinarily strange away from the court. But between Shaq and Kobe, the season was pretty uneventful after October. Shaq says they kept a lid on stuff, which is mostly true. You know, give or take the odd ESPN article in which Shaq insisted he really did call Kobe over the summer, and if he had a problem with someone, he just punched them in the face instead of talking to the press, while Kobe replied, no, he didn't call me, and if he wants to fight, we can fight. Stuff like that. For real, though, the beef settled into a Cold War. Shaq and Kobe made their feelings known in quiet, petty ways, like refusing to get taped by the same trainer. Phil Jackson, feeling closer than ever to the Shaq side of the divide, met with O'Neal and Rick Fox to ask whether they thought Kobe should leave the team to deal with his case. They both said no, but when Phil asked if they thought these Lakers would win a championship with Kobe, their answer was the same. And indeed, the Lakers did not. For the first time ever, Shaq and Kobe lost an NBA Finals together. And that 04 defeat to the Detroit Pistons included additional novelty. Kobe took more shots than Shaq did in an NBA Finals. It didn't go so hot. Bryant shot 10 of 27 in a surprise Game 1 loss at home. In a back-breaking Game 4, Kobe hit just 8 of 25. Shaq, who kept giving the Lakers more points on fewer attempts than his teammate, issued quotes that sounded like his old mid-season self. Write what you see. I'm disappointed. But Kobe kept shooting till the bitter end. 7 of 21 in the elimination defeat, while Shaq hit 7 of 13. Years later, 04 Laker Kareem Rush said he thought Kobe was gunning for the Finals MVP trophy that had always been Shaq's.
Probably.
That obviously didn't come to pass, but Kobe had grander desires anyway.
Yeah.
The Lakers dynasty was unmistakably over. Kobe had the negotiating power of free agency. The franchise seemed to favor him despite an ongoing criminal case. His demand was simple. Kobe wanted to make the baskets. And he was clear in 2004 about what that meant. He did not want to be a sidekick any longer. It would be him or Shaq, not both. At the time, Kobe said these things in private, but years later, Kobe opened up about how he felt in '04. He put it best in Rick Bucher's oral history of that Lakers season. "I wasn't going to play with Shaq anymore. I'm going to show you fucks what I can do on my own, in LA or somewhere else." Kobe used his free agency to force the Lakers' hand. And if he was bluffing, well, this is a hell of a bluff. Whatever it was, it worked. Shaq had watched the Lakers punt his contract extension, then he watched them do the same to Phil Jackson. When news broke that Phil would quote-unquote retire, Shaq read the writing on the wall and asked for a trade. On July 14th, 2004, he got it. The very next day, Kobe signed a 7-year, $136 million deal to stay with the Lakers. At long last, it was his team. So this is where Shaq's concept of work beef peels away. The work was over, and with it, the associated conflict. It's one that Kobe summarized very tidily in 2004.
You know, he used to get mad at me for not playing team basketball. I used to get mad at me because he wasn't in tip-top shape.
Both men referred to their feud as the inevitable clash of two alpha dogs. Each wielded his own prideful ego. Shaq took pride in natural brilliance, in his ability to dominate opponents without practice. He wanted teammates to buy in and to get along with him. Kobe took pride in crafting brilliance, in obsessive practice to refine his individual game. He didn't care as much about buy-in or about being liked. For a time, Shaq's advantages in age, experience, and the system made him the prevailing force. Shaq spoke many words across many forms of media to check Kobe's individualism and get what he wanted: the ball and 3 championships. But when Shaq's fitness slipped, the undeniable fruits of Kobe's labor made him the prevailing force. He flexed his youth and his solo skill, and then he used the media his own way to target Shaq's foibles. It's not that Kobe didn't want those 3 rings, he just needed to prove that he could earn some as an unquestioned first option.
Yes.
In the long run, Kobe got what he wanted: baskets, 2 more championships as the leading Laker, 2 Finals MVP trophies, 1 more ring without Shaq than Shaq managed without him. With that, and with the formal dismissal of his criminal case, Kobe cultivated a reputation, a legacy, and a brand, literally, that was about Kobe and Kobe alone. His excellence, his obsession, his precision, even his scandal. The whole Black Mamba thing began as a way for Nike to market Kobe after his sexual assault allegation. And it just evolved as he became a Finals MVP, veteran legend, and retired public figure. It's a hell of a thing. And it overlaps with the denouement of our story. The Shaq-Kobe beef didn't just end sharply with their 2004 work breakup. Later that offseason, the public learned what Shaq already knew, that Kobe's '03 police interrogation included a statement accusing Shaq of paying off women. This response, issued in September through ESPN's Stephen A. Smith, was about as harsh and as direct as Shaq would ever get. Denial and distance, but also an unmistakable reference to the expensive ring Kobe had bought his wife Vanessa after.
All right, see that part? I don't remember that. I don't think I heard that, where Shaq was like, "I'm not the one buying love, he is." Like he said, it has to do with that big-ass rock Kobe put on her ring. Then he got the tattoo, right?
After the allegations came to light. Smith and John Saunders put Kobe on the spot, pressing on a guy who already felt plenty of pressure.
When's the last time you talked to Shaq, and did you ever apologize for those statements?
This exposed Kobe's new position in the beef. He was done stoking it. After attempting some excuses,
I could try to track him down, but I don't have his number or anything like that.
He promised to apologize with Stephen A's help.
Well, let me ask you this question. One of the things that Shaq would say, and I know him pretty well, is that Shaq would say he's not hard to find.
You probably got his number. I get it from you, and I call him today.
There's some irony here. It is funny that Smith would quote Shaq as being not hard to reach, because when Colleen Dominguez asked a similar question, O'Neal jokingly said the opposite.
If Kobe Bryant called you on your cell phone right now, what would you say to him?
I don't have a cell phone. Because people that I'm connected with them. All you gotta do is think, and I'll call you. I don't have a cell phone. And that's a problem with the diesel. I'm technologically more advanced than you are.
But isn't that Shaq? With so much less pressure, so much less to prove, Shaq in 2004 sounded as glib and playful as ever talking about the beef. On SportsCenter, he made subtle digs at Kobe's style of play.
I think if he did the little things, he'd be the greatest player to ever play the game. But he's a great player.
What are the little things?
Make your teammates better.
Else better.
Speaking to Stephen A., he made insinuations about Kobe's character.
You don't have to like me. But most of the people, if you ask them about me, they really like me. So if you don't like me, there must be something wrong with you.
And he told jokes, like the one about new co-star Dwayne Wade surprising him by passing him the ball. After he and Wade won the 2006 championship, Shaq enjoyed a few years ahead of Kobe in the title ledger. It's probably not a coincidence that Shaq kept the beef in the public consciousness, always in a silly way.
Kobe? Who is that?
Yes, that is an actual scene from Scary Movie 2. This is the long tale of our story. After the work ended, the beef faded gradually into more of a meme than an open conflict. Each guy got what he wanted, got older, and got comfortable laughing about the past, at a distance and eventually as friends. There's one particularly famous moment from this era of gradual detente. It happened in 2008, after Shaq's fourth title, but before Kobe won his fourth and fifth.
Off the finals loss.
In June 2008, days after the Kobe-centric Lakers lost in the NBA Finals, Shaq got on stage at a club in New York and performed a freestyle rap largely directed at Kobe.
Check it. You know how I be. Last week
Kobe couldn't do without me.
One line stole the show, and it became a meme of its own.
Tell me how my ass tastes.
Kobe, tell me how my ass tastes.
And listen, that makes sense. Kobe, how my ass tastes is catchy. Shaq repeated it like a dozen times, and he got the whole crowd to join in. Kobe says he had a laugh at it, all in good fun. But here's the thing. While how my ass tastes is funny in a vague, competitive, sports-focused way, this is something else.
Kobe ratted me out. That's why I'm getting divorced. He said Shaq gave a bitch a meal. I don't do that because my name's Shaquille.
That is Shaq referencing Kobe's police interrogation and his well-known statement about Shaq therein. And it's Shaq suggesting that statement was responsible for his divorce, which was an actual thing that came to pass. That's real and pretty dark. Which is to say, not everything can just fade. Not everything can be laughed off. There were genuine regrets, real scars on both sides of this relationship.
Absolutely.
When Kobe went on Shaq's podcast in 2015, they voiced regret in two different forms. Shaq framed things the way he often does. He stoked the beef in front of media because it was business, because it was the heat of the moment, or in order to exert control. Shaq said a lot of stuff he didn't mean. Kobe, on the other hand, said a few things he did mean, things that came to make him feel like he was an idiot as a kid. By saying all this stuff to the media, they synthesized beef. They generated pressure. If 2004 was when Kobe realized he had to pull back from the public beef and apologize directly for the stuff he regretted, then Shaq's version of the same came a few years later. O'Neal and Bryant were teammates again for one night. On February 15th, 2009, they were both Western Conference All-Stars. Kobe, still a Laker, Shaq with the Phoenix Suns. This was when the world first really saw Shaq and Kobe enjoying each other's company again. They practiced together, played together, had fun making baskets together, even if the baskets didn't count. At game's end, Shaq and Kobe shared MVP honors, and Kobe told Shaq to give the trophy to his son, Sharif, at which point something clicked for the big guy. He was open and vulnerable about this in 2018.
You told me to take the trophy home.
That's right.
Remember that?
I did.
And I took it home and I gave it to Sharif.
Yeah.
And I realized now, I was like, I think I may have messed something up. Because a lot of times that our beef was going on, you know me, I'm the master marketer.
Mm-hmm.
About 60% of the time, I would just say it just to keep it going. Luckily, I won 3 out of 4 with this guy, but I was to this guy. So I owe you an apology. I'm going to give you an apology, but we ain't going to be doing all that crying.
They did win 3 out of 4. But because one or the other couldn't stay satisfied, and because that dissatisfaction went public, those 3 rings could have been relegated to a B story in the shared legacy of an all-time great sports partnership. All along, this was the solution. Shaq and Kobe were better off speaking to each other, not about each other. That didn't happen enough when they were teammates. It hurts to know it can't happen any longer, but it did happen. Because they spoke, because they resolved their differences in public, their shared legacy can look more like this, better measured in titles than in beef. Shaq and Kobe made mistakes in their relationship. They made demands. They made accusations. They made headlines. They made a mess. But when that was all behind them, they made up. And even as it happened, they made baskets.
Damn, this is so good. This might be the best work to date by Secret Base. I had a lot of fun with this one. Creontis, salute, my brother. Salute, 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 salute. I had a lot of fun with this one. Reaffirmed some things and then corrected my memory on about two or three of those things that I was remembering wrong. And this was a lot of fun, man. There's a couple details in there, some quotes in there that I never heard of back in that time. So well done. Just the pace of this was so good. The flow of narrative, the flow of ideas, the points, the depth, the understanding on both sides that Secret Base did. This is just it flowed perfectly, man. It was well fleshed out. The details, like 99.9 of the details were there. This was a masterpiece done by Secret Base. So well done. And I like the perspective on it, on how you should remember these guys. What is it all about at the end of the day? The grand scheme of things. So beautiful. I loved how he even touched. See, so many people are scared to talk about the Eagle Rock, Colorado. Was it Eagle Rock, right? And the sexual assault trial. I'm like, nah, I'll talk about it all day. Hey, man, I'll tell you exactly what happened. I'll tell you what happened in the season. I mean, it's just something that he dealt with and he had to perform with. And it shook up the team, man. But you know, all things considered, they had a good season. And they fell short at the finals. But hey, man, so I'm glad he touched on that. I was able to talk about it, man. Because a lot of people shy away from it. As long as you talk about it in its proper context and, you know, put the facts out there, it's all good. Y'all let me know what you think about it, man. What do you think about the Kobe and Shaq beef? Back in the day, did you take a certain side? Were you a Kobe guy? Were you a Shaq guy? Were you both? Did you just want them to, you know, be at peace? What do you remember from back then? How did it make you feel? I would love to hear your opinion on all of this, okay? Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell. Check out our Shaq playlist. I think I have a Shaq playlist, right? Check out the Kobe playlist. I have a Kobe playlist for sure. And be blessed out there. Rest in peace, Black Mamba. And I catch you on the next one. We out, baby.